This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, a deadly outbreak of hantavirus has struck the luxury expedition ship MV Hondius in the Atlantic, leaving 3 passengers dead. The tragedy has sparked an international medical emergency as health officials across 3 continents race to contain the rare virus. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced the conclusion of active offensive operations against Iran. Rubio signaled a strategic shift toward diplomatic pressure and maritime enforcement to maintain the current blockade. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has rejected President Trump's threats to hike tariffs on European vehicles. Speaking from Armenia, she warned that the bloc is prepared to retaliate to protect its economic interests. At least 2 workers are dead after a dust collection unit exploded at the Kazynik metallurgical plant in Kazakhstan. Emergency teams are currently clearing rubble in Ust-Kamenogorsk to reach several others reported injured. President Marcos reaffirmed the Philippines' strengthening defense ties with Japan during a meeting with Minister Shinjiro Koizumi. The talk coincide with Japanese forces joining the largest ever Balikatan exercises on Philippine soil. Influencer Ka Eric Celis has secured temporary liberty after a Pasay City court approved his bail. Celis faced cyber libel charges linked to controversial claims regarding the health of President Marcos. And in showbiz, all 4 members of Blackpink made history by attending the 2026 Met Gala. While each member walked the red carpet individually, it marked the first time the entire K-pop powerhouse was present for fashion's biggest night. I'm Carlo de la Peña. Newsline World starts now. A deadly outbreak of hantavirus has struck the luxury expedition ship MV Hondius in the Atlantic, leaving 3 passengers dead and sparking an international medical emergency across 3 continents. More on this from Faith Agustin.
The vessel is currently under isolation off the coast of Cape Verde due to the health risk situation. Oceanwide Expeditions, the cruise ship company, released its official statement that the first case of hantavirus was identified in a British passenger. The passenger was medically evacuated to South Africa and is currently being treated in the intensive care unit or ICU in Johannesburg. However, the World Health Organization or WHO just confirmed that the second identified case of the virus was a deceased female Dutch passenger that disembarked earlier in St. Helena due to the death of her husband while on board.
WHO is working with countries to respond to cases of hantavirus infection that have been identified on a cruise ship in the Atlantic Ocean. As of the 4th of May, there have been 6 suspected cases reported. 3 cases have unfortunately died. 1 patient is currently ill in ICU in South Africa, while 2 patients remain on board and will be evacuated for medical treatment. About 150 people, including passengers and crew, are on the ship.
The operator confirmed that a 3rd passenger, a German national, died on board on May 2. The cause is still unknown. Currently, 2 crew members, 1 British and 1 Dutch, are suffering from acute respiratory symptoms and require urgent medical evacuation. They are still on board receiving medical care. There are hantavirus cases. The connection of the virus to other fatalities during their voyage is still to be established. Despite the presence of 23 different nationalities on board, including 38 Filipino crew members, WHO maintains that the general easily spread between humans. Hantavirus is a severe respiratory illness carried by rodents. It starts with flu-like fever and aches but can lead to rapid lung failure. Most infections occur by breathing in dust contaminated by rodent waste or touching infected surfaces. While rare, experts warn the Andes strain involved in this outbreak can spread through close person-to-person contact. The MV Hondius is now reportedly steaming toward the country. Spain agreed to for full medical screening and repatriation. People remaining on board remain in high-stress isolation. Health authorities are focusing on a potential rodent infestation during the ships in the South Atlantic. Faith Agustin, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has reaffirmed the Philippines' growing defense partnership with Japan during a high-level meeting at Malacanang Palace. The courtesy call by Japanese Defense Minister Shinjiro Koizumi comes at a pivotal moment as Japanese forces join the largest ever Balikatan exercises on Philippine soil. Creselyn Catarong reports.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. met with Shinjiro Koizumi, Japan's Minister of Defense, in a courtesy call at Malacanang Palace on Tuesday. The meeting formed efforts to further strengthen the strategic partnership and defense. Koizumi's visit coincided with Japan's participation in Exercise Balikatan 41-2026, where 1,400 members of the Japan Self-Defense Forces joined expanded multilateral training alongside Filipino. Marcos welcomed Japan's participation, noting that it marked the first time the country joined military exercises overseas. According to the president, this is a positive signal of solidarity among allies, with exercises proceeding smoothly. Also present at the meeting were Executive Secretary Ralph Recto, Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro, Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief of Staff Romeo Browner Jr., National Security Advisor Secretary Eduardo Oban Jr., and Presidential Communications Office Under Secretary for Strategic Media Campaigns Ramon Ilagan. Meanwhile, Koizumi was accompanied by senior officials from Japan's Ministry of Defense. The meeting both countries' commitment to deepening security ties, enhancing marriage and stability in the Indo-Pacific region. They also discussed President Marcos' upcoming state visit to Japan later this month, which will mark the 70th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the Philippines and Japan. For Newsline World, Creselyn Catarong, SM9 News.
Social media influencer Eric Celis has secured temporary liberty after the Pasay City Regional Trial Court approved his bail. Celis is facing charges of unlawful use of means of publication and cyber libel linked to allegations regarding the health of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Jane Cognita reports.
Eric Celis clarified that his presence in court was a voluntary appearance rather than a voluntary surrender, occurring after the court approved his bail set at 36,000 pesos. Celis is among those charged with cyber libel, spreading fake news or falsified medical records that purportedly maintaining health of President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. He personally appeared before the court after the clerk of court informed him that a warrant of arrest dated May 4, 2026 had been issued. His legal team maintains that since his bond is approved, he is now officially of the law, leaving no legal basis for his arrest on the same charges while the bail is active. Celis expressed no regret over his vlog discussions regarding the president's health.
So sa tingin ko, ang pagpigil na ito ay pag-usapan in public discussion at gamitin ang pananakot ng mga kaso kagaya ng cyber libel, unlawful publication, unlawful utterances, ay isang pagsikil sa kalayaan ng mamamayan sa malayang pagpapahayag.
He further explained that his camp will continue to pursue legal remedies, including a motion to dismiss. This includes the issue of jurisdiction and a question of who has the legal standing to file a cyber libel complaint. Celis argued that cyber libel is a crime against a person and not against the state, leading to questions regarding the proper jurisdiction of the case.
Ang NBI ay walang personality to file cyber libel crime against us because cyber libel is a crime against a person. It is not a crime against. So therefore, kung mayroon man pong nasaktan o na-offend sa cyber libel na issue, yun dapat ay si Marcos Jr. ang mag-file, hindi ang NBI.
Meanwhile, Celis he would comply with all court conditions while under temporary liberty. The court has scheduled his arraignment and pre-trial for May 8 at 8:30 in the morning. This has been Jane Cognito, citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
The Philippine government has officially released the calendar of the events for the 48th ASEAN Summit and related meetings set to take place this week in Lapu-Lapu City, Cebu. As the host nation, the Philippines is preparing to welcome leaders from across the region to discuss critical issues ranging from regional security to the global energy crisis. Crecelyn Catarong has more.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., serving as the current ASEAN chair, is set to preside over meetings with leaders from Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. Key agenda items include regional security, energy and food supply chains, the safety of ASEAN citizens, and enhanced economic cooperation. The details were shared by Helen de la Vega, Director General for Operations of the ASEAN 26 National Organizing Council. During the opening of the International Media Center, de la Vega announced that senior officials and ministerial preparatory meetings will kick off from May 6 to 7 at Dusitani Mactan and Shangri-La Mactan. This will be followed by the special BIMP Iago Summit on the afternoon of May 7 at Shangri-La, attended by leaders from Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines. The ASEAN Summit will officially open on May 8 with the ceremony at the newly built Mactan Expo in Lapu-Lapu City. Following the plenary sessions and working lunch, leaders will move to a retreat session at Shangri-La Mactan. President told to hold press conference at 4 p.m. at the International Media Center to discuss the summit's outcomes. The event will conclude with a gala dinner hosted by the President and First Lady Luis Araneta Marcos. National Organizing Council Director General Helen de la Vega also emphasized the critical role of the media in reporting on the summit, particularly as the region navigates rapidly shifting geopolitical challenges. She noted that this year's preparations are unique as they are guided by strict austerity measures. These moves align with President Marcos' declared state of national energy emergency and his standing directives on energy conservation. Despite these domestic constraints, ASEAN member states reach a consensus that in-person discussions are non-negotiable. The leaders argue that face-to-face diplomacy is essential to address immediate global threats, most notably the ongoing conflict in the Middle East, which continues to jeopardize regional energy prices and food security. Beyond economic, it will also tackle the safe movement of ASEAN citizens across borders amidst these rising global tensions. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Crecelyn Catarong, SMN9 News.
Up next, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced the conclusion of active offensive operations against Iran. Rubio signaled a strategic shift toward diplomatic pressure and maritime enforcement to maintain the current blockade. And EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has rejected President Trump's threats to hike tariffs on European vehicles. And speaking of Armenia, she warned that the bloc is prepared to retaliate to protect its economic interests. More news when Newsline World returns.
In a world that craves the light of truth, One Network stands as an immovable beacon. For years, the world recognized our unyielding spirit, crowning us the most credible media company of the year. We crossed oceans to become Asia's most trusted and valued international news team, and stood defiant as the most independent Philippine media. Now, in the year 2026, we still face the howling winds of challenges. They bend the law, trying to make us silent. They spread fear to make the industry turn away. But they have forgotten one absolute truth. SMNI is not built on the fleeting praise of fearful men. We are built in trust. Whether the recognition echoes loudly in the grand halls or sits silently in the living rooms of millions, Our foundation cannot be broken. They can only try to silence us. But they cannot silence the people who know we are still the most trusted and quality news channel of the year. Guiding this unstoppable force is our honorary chairman of SMNI, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy.
The mandate of SMNI for nation building. It is always for nation building.
He is not merely a leader. He is a celebrated spiritual leader with strong advocacy for peace and nation builder of the year, hailed globally as a humanitarian pastor of the year, and the most influential and powerful man of the decade. Through every storm, he stands as the King of Peace, championing sustainability and pushing for a unified nation when the world needs it most. Let the shadows try to fall, let the establishment tremble. We are the certified most sustainable and reliable news channel. We are the pulse of the nation. We are the shield of the innocent. The truth is our armor. The people our strength. We are SMNI, and our legacy is the truth.
Kapag hindi yan ibinalita ng SMNI, hindi yan totoo.
Sa SMNI lang ako nanonood at nag-aabang ng balita.
Matanda na ako. Isa lang ang pinagkakatiwalaan ko. SMNI.
Hello, ate kuya. Ano po channel na pinapanood niyo po sa balita?
Oo, ako siguradong SMNI. Kasi kung sino yung pinagkatiwalaan ng Duterte, doon kami.
Yes! Yes! Nakapalo po! Ayan po! SMNI. Wow.
Bakit SMNI? SMNI kasi legit.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No fake news, SMNI.
Ngayon po bilang isang OFW at bilang isang Pilipino, in-encourage ko nga yung mga kababayan ko na manood na lang tayo ng SMNI dahil patas ang balita at may puso at malasakit para sa sitwasyon natin sa bansang Pilipinas.
Para sa akin, kung ako sa inyo, tumutok kayo sa SMNI dahil dyan lang po tayo makakaasa ng tapat at totoong balita.
Anong channel po pinapanood niyo sa balita?
SMNI lang po.
SMNI lang, wala nang iba.
Para sa Diyos at sa Pilipinas, ating mahal.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced on Wednesday that the offensive stage of military operations against Iran has concluded, signaling a shift from active combat to diplomatic and maritime enforcement. Berhil Parba reports.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio officially notified the public and the Congress that Operation Epic Fury, the 10-week aerial and naval campaign against Iran, is now over. In a briefing on Wednesday, Rubio asserted that the primary objective of the mission has been achieved, the total dismantling of Iran's conventional shield. According to the Secretary, the Iranian Navy has been reduced to small boats and Boston whalers, while its Air Force and missile industrial base have been effectively neutralized. Rubio explained that the operation was designed to strip away the defensive layers Iran was using to hide its nuclear program. By wiping out their ability to launch thousands of missiles and drones, Rubio claims the U.S. has forced Iran into a position where it can no longer hide its nuclear ambitions behind a military deterrent.
The operation that has concluded was going to destroy their Navy. They have no Navy left. They don't. Not a Navy. They have small boats and Boston whalers, but they don't have a Navy left. They don't have an Air Force. I challenge you. When is the last time you read or heard about an Iranian jet flying anywhere? They don't have an Air Force. Their missile launching capability has been substantially degraded, and their industrial base, their defense industrial base, has been severely, severely damaged. So their ability to build a shield behind which they could hide their nuclear program was wiped out. That's a very substantial achievement, and that was the purpose of this operation from day one.
With the offensive stage finished, the U.S. is transitioning to Project Freedom, a defensive initiative focused on securing international waterways and maintaining the naval blockade. However, the critical question remains the fate of Iran's nuclear material. Rubio admitted that while the military shield is gone, the material itself remained buried deep and is now the subject of intense sensitive negotiations.
The operation is over. Epic Fury, as the President notified Congress, we're done with that stage of it. Okay, we're now on to this project of freedom. As far as the negotiation is concerned, I think the President's been clear that part of the negotiation process has to be not just the enrichment, but what happens to this material that's buried deep somewhere that they still have access to if they ever wanted to dig it out. That has to be addressed, and that's being addressed in the negotiation. I'm not going to go further on what progress has been made on that topic because I don't want to endanger the negotiations, but suffice it to say that the President and this entire team is aware of the centrality of that question, and that will have to be addressed one way or the other.
Despite the end of the Epic Fury, regional tensions remain high. High oil and gas prices continue to weigh on the global economy, a factor President Trump has labeled a small price to pay for non-nuclear Iran. As the focus shifts from the cockpit to the negotiation table, the world waits to see if Iran's third-string leadership will finally submit to a permanent nuclear freeze. This has been Verhil Parba, your global citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Tensions between Brussels and Washington have reached a boiling point following U.S. President Donald Trump's latest threat to hike tariffs on European vehicles. Speaking from Armenia, EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen warned that the to protect its interests, rejecting claims that Europe has failed to live up to its end of a hard-fought trade agreement. Paul Montibon tells us more.
The trade peace established last July in Scotland is fraying. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, attending the first EU-Armenia summit in Yerevan, issued a firm warning Tuesday. She stressed that a deal is a deal and insisted that EU is implementing its commitments in full. Her comments come after President Trump took to Truth Social on Friday, accusing the EU of non-compliance. He threatened to hike tariffs on European-made cars and trucks from 15% to 25% as early as next week. The White House argues that EU has been too slow to lower industrial barriers and increase investments in the American energy sector. In response, a commission said the EU will keep options open, with some European leaders calling for the activation of anti-coercion instruments. Under the current deal, the EU had agreed to buy $750 billion in U.S. energy and invest $600 billion into the American economy. Brussels maintains these democratic legislative processes take time the U.S. president says is running out. For God of my country, the Philippines, reporting for Newsline World, this has been Paul Montibon, SMNI News.
Tragedy has struck Kazakhstan's largest metallurgical complex after a dust collection unit exploded at the Kazzinc plant in Kursk-Kamenogorsk. At least 2 workers are confirmed dead and several others injured as emergency teams race to clear rubble from the collapsed facility. Joy Tabanao has the story.
The explosion ripped through the Glencore-owned zinc and lead plant early Tuesday morning, sending thick smoke billowing over the city of Ost-Kamenogorsk. According to the Emergency Situations Ministry, the blast occurred in a dust collection facility, triggering a fire that spread across 120 square meters and causing a workshop partially collapse. Rescue operations are ongoing, with K9 units and nearly 80 emergency personnel deployed to the site to navigate the debris. Official reports confirm that of the 9 people affected, 2 have tragically lost their lives. 2 others remain hospitalized, while at least 1 individual is receiving intensive care. Prime Minister Wujas Biatanev has placed the investigation under his personal control, ordering and emergency agencies to provide a full report on the cause of the malfunction. Kazzinc, user of zinc, precious metals, expressed condolences to the families and promised financial and psychological support. While the smoke plume initially raised environmental concerns in one of the country's most industrial cities, early monitoring from the Department of Ecology suggests air pollution levels remain within permissible limits. This has been Joy Tabanao, your global citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
The Cuban government has a sweeping update to immigration policies, removing long-standing restrictions on citizens living abroad and introducing a new classification for diaspora investors. Almar Forsuelo has the details.
In a major press conference in Havana on Tuesday, May 5, top immigration and consular officials unveiled the new legislative framework aimed at redefining the relationship between the island and its millions of citizens overseas. Mario Mendez Mayado, head of the Directorate of Identification and Immigration, announced the introduction of effective migration residency. Under this rule, Cubans for foreigners who spend at least 180 days per year on the island will maintain the resident status, effectively eliminating the controversial 24-month limit that previously forced many to return and lose their rights. The reform also secures the property rights of those residing abroad. According to Article 58 of the Constitution, these citizens can now freely dispose of their homes and assets in Cuba without fear of government seizure. That this was a prime for the diaspora and is now explicitly protected by law.
Todas las personas que mantuvieron su residencia en Cuba en el tiempo establecido después de la actualización de la política migratoria en 2014 pasan automáticamente a ser cubanos residentes del exterior. O sea, no son inmigrantes. Los ciudadanos cubanos residentes en el exterior, en correspondencia con el artículo 58 de la Constitución de la República de Cuba, tienen derecho al uso, disfrute y libre disposición de los bienes de su propiedad, de conformidad con lo establecido.
Furthermore, the government is opening doors for economic reintegration. Maluli Diaz Medina of the Consular Affairs Directorate confirmed that Cuba consulates are now ready to process a new investor migration status. This status is designed for Cubans abroad who wish to participate in the country's recent economic reforms, which include the right to own businesses and open dollar accounts on the island.
Decir además que los consulados cubanos están ya prestos a comenzar a trabajar cuando las leyes cubanas entren en vigor dentro de 180 días, pero que ya también están en condiciones de comenzar a trabajar con aquellos cubanos que decidan solicitar la nueva condición migratoria de inversores en Cuba.
The new laws are set to take full effect within 180 days, while Havana frames the move as a consolidation of ties with its citizens. Analysts note the timing coincides with maximum pressure sanctions recently renewed by the Trump administration on May 1. By easing travel and investment rules, Cuba appears to be seeking a lifeline from its own diaspora to counter growing economic isolation. Reporter for Newsline World, Almar Forzuelo, SMNI News.
On the anniversary of the historic Battle of Puebla, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has sent a pointed message to the world. Mexico is open to cooperation, but never at the expense of its independence. Speaking at the mausoleum of General Ignacio Zaragoza, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum reaffirmed that while the U.S. remains a key ally, no foreign power will dictate how Mexicans govern themselves. She marked the May 5th festivities in the state of Puebla by honoring the 1862 victory over French forces, a moment she described as the ultimate symbol of Mexican resilience. During her address, Sheinbaum took the opportunity to reflect on the historical bond between Mexico and the United States, specifically the alliance between Benito Juarez and Abraham Lincoln during the French intervention.
A nuestros vecinos, a Estados Unidos, le decimos, recordemos el gran momento de relación entre Juárez y Lincoln, el reconocimiento de la República y el apoyo a Juárez es de las acciones más loables de nuestra histórica relación. Pero también a cualquier gobierno extranjero somos claros y contundentes. La historia nos dice que el pueblo de México no se equivoca cuando se trata de defender la soberanía nacional. Las y los mexicanos aprendimos bien la lección que nos dieron los liberales, los chinacos, los juaristas, los acapuastlas, que resistieron la invasión en 1862. Ninguna potencia extranjera nos va a decir a los mexicanos cómo nos gobernamos. Somos libres, como los indígenas que partieron a las montañas durante la conquista para conservar su derecho a organizarse como ellos decidieran. Somos un pueblo que ama su libertad, su independencia, su soberanía y estamos dispuestos siempre a defenderla. Somos libres.
That nod to history came with a modern warning. Amid ongoing debates over trade, border security, and regional influence, Sheinbaum emphasized that cooperation does not equal subordination. Sheinbaum, accompanied by Puebla Governor Alejandro Armenta and top military brass, watched as the civic-military parade marched through the city. Sheinbaum's rhetoric signals a firm Mexico-first foreign policy, asserting that while the country values its neighbors, it remains a people who love their freedom and are always prepared to defend it. Could Aaron Rodgers be heading to the desert? Speculation is swirling in the NFL after Arizona Cardinals wide receiver Kendrick Bourne took to social media to personally recruit the future Hall of Fame quarterback. In European football, the North London Forever anthem is ringing louder than ever. Arsenal is headed to the Champions League final for the first time in 2 decades. Here are the latest update.
The Aaron Rodgers rumor mill is spinning once again. After spending a 2025 season with the Pittsburgh Steelers, the veteran signal caller remains unsigned for the 2026 campaign. The Steelers have placed a seldom-used unrestricted free agent tag on Rodgers, a move that allows him to sign elsewhere while ensuring a Pittsburgh receive a compensatory pick in return. Enter Kendrick Bourne. The Cardinals wideout fueled the fire this week by shooting his shot on social media, publicly urging Rodgers to join him in Arizona. While league insiders have labeled the Arizona talk as nonsense, the connections are hard to ignore. Rodgers has deep history with Cardinals offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett from their Green Bay days, and head coach Mike LaFleur is a brother of Rodgers' former Packers coach Matt LaFleur. For now, the four-time MVP is keeping the league and the Steelers waiting on his 2026 plans. 20 years of waiting is over. Arsenal booked their place in the 2026 Champions League final after a gritty 1-0 victory over Atletico Madrid at the Emirates. The Gunners advanced 2-1 on aggregate, thanks to a clinical first-half strike from Bukayo Saka. It was a defensive masterclass from Mikel Arteta's side, who neutralized Diego Simeone's trademark pressure to secure their first final appearance since 2006. Arsenal now watches the scoreboard as Paris Saint-Germain and Munich battle it out in the second semi-final leg. PSG currently holds a narrow 5-4 lead. Regardless of the opponent, the Gunners are just 90 minutes away from claiming the one major trophy that has eluded the club for over a century.
All 4 members of Blackpink made a historic joint appearance at the 2026 Met Gala as Lisa, Jennie, Rosie, and Jisoo walked the red carpet individually, marking the first time the global K-pop group was complete at fashion's biggest night. Meanwhile, Heidi Klum and Bad Bunny stunned onlookers. Andrea Santos is all the buzz.
In a historic moment for K-pop and global fashion, all 4 members of Blackpink attended the 2026 Met Gala. Marking the group appeared together at one of the world's most prestigious fashion. Lisa and Jisoo each made striking individual appearances on the red carpet at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. Notably, this year marked Jisoo's Met Gala debut, completing the group's long-awaited full attendance. The members showcased their unique styles while representing major luxury fashion houses, further solidifying Blackpink's influence in both music and high fashion. The Met Gala highlights the group's continued global impact and dominance beyond the K-pop industry. 2 of the night's biggest surprises came from Heidi Klum and Bad Bunny, who were nearly unrecognizable as they arrived at the Met Gala in dramatic head-turning ensembles. The pair fully embraced the event's theme, transforming their appearances with bold avant-garde fashion choices that left fans and photographers double takes on the red carpet. Held at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, the Met Gala once again a stage for creativity, where celebrities push the limits of the style and self-expression. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Andrea Santos, your citizen correspondent, bringing you the latest showbuzz.
What would you do if you found your toddler in a claw machine? That's exactly the situation parents of 2 faced when he climbed into a claw machine at a family arcade in Missouri. And instead of panicking, he spent the time playing with the balls inside, delighting rescuers and quickly going viral online. Stella Marie has the story.
It only took 15 seconds for Cooper's mother, Margaret King, to look away. When she turned back, Cooper had already climbed inside the claw machine. Despite the sudden shock, Margaret remained calm throughout the entire situation, ensuring that Cooper stayed safe until help arrived. While inside, Cooper was not distressed. He began exploring the colorful balls, laughing and having fun, which made the rescue both tense and heartwarming for onlookers. Emergency responders were called to the scene and Cooper was eventually freed when a technician from the machine company arrived. Social media quickly amplified the incident with videos and images capturing Cooper smiling inside the machine, generating widespread amusement and relief. Authorities reminded parents to supervise children around arcade equipment and to ensure machines are not climbed into, while praising Cooper's adventurous spirit, which, in this case, turned a potential alarming situation into an internet sensation. This has been Stella Marie, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the Sun. No matter who you are or whatever your circumstances in life, there are always things to be grateful for. And that's all for today's edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Carlo de la Peña. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.